Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. Find your seat. I'm so glad to be in the classroom again with you all for week 3 of our seminar in food systems and the Sustainable Development Goals. So we have our first guest speaker in the classroom will be presenting today, and it will be my great honor to introduce him in just a few moments. I'm just going to run through some quick announcements, reminders, and then we're going to have a few Poll Everywhere questions to just help us keep the learnings from week 2 as we move forward into week 3. So just very quickly, please make sure that Canvas announcements are connected with your email so that you're keeping up with the nuts and bolts of the class. And from this week forward, you can expect weekly announcements on Tuesdays, so you can look out for those, and they'll just be reminders about how to prepare and who is joining us for that week. Please plan on spending some time before each speaker. I would estimate 30 to 60 minutes, although it could be a little less, a little more, depending on what else is going on for you. But just to be sure you at least open up the pre-readings and are coming primed to receive the wisdom of our guest speakers. We'll also be sure to capture some of your reflections and the questions that you ask after the seminar, and we'll be returning those to the guest speakers, not to request further information from them, but so that they can see what you are getting out of their seminars. So please, do your best in thinking into those questions and be as creative and thought-provoking as possible. We've really enjoyed looking through your first submissions for those who completed week 2 reflections, and we're in the process of grading them, and I think Carolyn is aiming for before the weekend fully begins to have those released to you so you can prepare for your reflection from week 3. I'm just going to pause here and say, Carolyn, can you check in the back of the room if the sound is okay? Because there is a bit of a feedback that I'm hearing. Thank you. In the back of the room, are you all hearing me okay? No problem? So many thumbs up. I should ask you more questions like that. Nice to see those thumbs up. Thank you. Okay. Finally, to wrap up, reminders about the reflections each week. Please remember to include the full reference in whatever format makes sense to you or that you're comfortable with. Just keep it consistent, and so we're just able to track your thoughts to the materials that you're drawing from, both in terms of resources and speaker information. All right, you'll notice that the Poll Everywhere is up at the top here, so I'm going to ask you to please open that up while I remind you that on the first class, you shared all the many different topics that you are interested in learning about and covering in this seminar. And I don't think I shared with you my analogy that each seminar, each week is like just an opportunity to pull back the curtain and look out into a huge world of learning and action. And so I hope that and anticipate that we'll touch on many of your interests, but know that there are so many resources and additional courses and even programs of study that you can pursue if one or more of these seminars really speaks to you. Just that one is covered or is circled to start, but really I wanted to circle these two to show that we were really focused on climate justice and inclusivity for the most part for week 2, and that was Dr. Jess Fanzo's lecture that was a seminar that she gave elsewhere that many of you wrote about really compellingly in terms of what grabbed your interest. And I just wanted to make sure that as a class we have some comfort around some of the key concepts that were introduced. So the first of 3 Poll Everywhere questions: climate change impacts are distributed equitably across the U.S. and around the world. True, false, or not sure? And we'll just give another 20 seconds here, so please do make sure to register your opinion, your insight. This is just a warm-up, so I'm anticipating most of y'all are going to get this, as we see already up on the screen here. And that's okay. I didn't mean to get the not sure person to back out. It's okay to not be sure. We're going to continue digging into this theme of equity over the quarter, but in fact, it is false that climate change impacts are distributed equitably. There are, in fact, huge disparities between communities across the United States, even between states across our nation, and then certainly between the United States, or what's often referred to as part of the Western world, or the Northern Hemisphere relative to the Southern Hemisphere. And I'm speaking in big generalizations at this time, but definitely the take-home message is that climate change impacts are not distributed equitably. So the answer is false. Great. Moving on to the next one. Climate change impacts our food system through, and this is where you can draw on Dr. Fanzo's lecture to talk about some of the implications for our food system. So it could be a word, it could be a short phrase, remembering to please use underscores to keep words together, like extreme underscore weather would be an example of a climate change impact. I see your responses coming in. Wonderful. So I see right at the center, we have agriculture and crops, and I'm just going to fill in the detail there for you, right? It's about crop yields and about nutritional quality. And I'm going to layer in another piece that Dr. Fanzo's seminar didn't address, but it's also impacts on farmers and farm workers, right? Working in more extreme conditions out in the fields. They don't have the option of working from home most of the time. Their work is out in the field, in the elements. And so just to add to that, I see lots of additional implications. Water, yes, water availability, or just having more or less water than we actually need to or can manage at once in terms of our stormwater, the impacts on our fields, and in terms of runoff that ends up pulling increased amounts of pesticides and fertilizers into our water supply systems. The quality of the foods is of kind of growing concern. What is the nutritional quality of the crops that we are able to grow under more extreme conditions? Again, this is not equitably distributed across crops or across regions. So you might remember that Dr. Fanzo mentioned wheat as an outlier, right? Something that we might anticipate seeing even more wheat production in the Northern Hemisphere, as opposed to far less maize production and actually less nutritional quality when produced in the Southern Hemisphere. Wonderful. Okay, you got a ton of other impacts listed here, and I appreciate that, and I encourage you to take a look at that in more detail. Third and final question is around strategies to more equitably address climate change. And I'm going to ask you to just continue filling that in, and we will take a look at that and I'll encourage you to take a look at that independently as I want to keep us moving. But I already see, yes, we can definitely impact through regulation and policy, through different farming strategies, including improving soil health, regenerative farming. So tons of information that's in here. Clearly, you all are learning and got a lot out of Dr. Fanzo's talk, and I am so grateful to see it. So I'm going to take us back to our slides. And I wanted to add in addition to an emphasis on farm worker safety, for example, Dr. Fanzo spent a lot of time talking about diets and changing diets, and I wanted to add in this perspective from IPES Food, the International Panel of Experts on Sustainable Food Systems, that in addition to thinking about what we eat, I hope this seminar will inspire you to think about how that food is grown, how it's produced, because that actually has a huge implication and can have huge implications for the resultant climate. Okay, so back to your overall interests. I wanted to highlight some of the interests that are going to connect with today's seminar. So we are going to be covering a range of topics with an incredible food systems leader who is going to be focused primarily on 2, 3, and I'm going to throw in 4, even though Ian specified 2 and 3, zero hunger, good health and well-being, but I'm going to add quality education because Ian Lai, who is our guest for today, is not only a trained chef who has worked in some of the high-end restaurants, has trained chefs, but has also worked as an educator with small children, working to reconnect and reskill young children with the whole food system, from production to culinary skill to actually enjoying food in community. And so you'll see his bio is posted, and I won't tell too much of his story because I'm hoping we're going to hear a lot of Ian's story today. But Ian is also currently working with the Richmond School District up in Canada, working on a provincial program up there called Feeding Futures. Did I get it? Yes. So with that, I want to invite Ian up, and let's give him a really warm welcome as he comes on up, because you are our first guest speaker, and we are so delighted you made the trip to join us today. So thank you.
Thanks, Yona. Is this on? Yes? All right. Let me get set up here. That photo of me was a long time ago. I had hair back then. I'll start off with a true story. We always like to hear something about a person. You can read the bio. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in getting to connect with you at a different level. So I'm going to share an experience that happened just this past weekend. And it's about love, bordering on passion. It's about starting a new relationship. It's about pain, agony, and it's about getting out there, going left or going right. It's about trust. So, it was a wet, moist day, and my new climbing partner, any climbers in the room? Awesome. You may know what I'm talking about. But we'll have a little 101 session today. So my new climbing partner, Yvonne, we climb in the gym together, and it's like going on dates. I am married, by the way. So, you kind of make sure this person is doing things correctly because your life is in their hands. And this is our first trip outside of the gym in a beautiful space in Squamish. So Squamish is the climbing mecca for slab and crack climbing. So here comes the climbing 101. What are these terms? Slab climbing is climbing on something that is super smooth, and the only way you can get further up is by finding these little micro chips of stone or gravel or granite to smear your foot in to push up. Think about trying to climb your windshield that has a little chip in it from a truck that shot a stone across. So you're looking for these little divots, and you find these divots or these little extensions, just like stubble on your face for the gentleman, to put your foot on, smear into it to get to the next hold. So that's one thing Squamish is absolutely famous for. Another thing is crack climbing. Crack climbing is climbing using a natural seam or a break between the rock face. You have to stick your finger in, it's called a finger jam, or a hand jam, or a fist jam, or a double fist jam into this crevice to give you enough leverage to pull yourself to go further up. So these are the two things that Squamish is famous for: crack and slab. So on this wet, moist day, we go out, set up, and this is something called lead climbing, meaning that all the rope is on the bottom. And the climber, myself, would go up, and Yvonne would feed me the rope. So there's this route that's on the top 100, and I was like, okay, let's give it a try. I get on the rock. I don't have my favorite grippy shoes. So one, I have the wrong equipment. Second, the rock's still moist. You stick your hand in the jam, you jam your hand in the crack, and it's still wet. You put your knee against the rock, it soaks up water. But I trust my skills. I go, okay, I'm going to give this a go. So I get going, and it's like, oh, it's getting more difficult. I can't get a good grip. My feet are slipping. And then I reach past the second clip, right? They're about 10 meters apart, so I'm up about 20 meters. And I can't find a nice chip to smear my foot on. And then I fall. I love falling. There's this space between where you lose control and when you get caught. It's just a split second. But within that time in your head, everything slows down. So I'm falling. I'm wearing a helmet. and I catch my leg on the rope, and I flip over. I hit my head, and for some reason, the rope on that first clip unclips. It's like 1 in 1,000 that it happens. So I fall. Yvonne catches me. She says, "You're okay?" I'm dangling upside down. I'm just trying to breathe. Okay, I'm okay. So I end up righting myself. She lowers me to the ground again. I start up again. I end up finishing the route. It takes me about 15 minutes because you've got to navigate all these little chips, these little cracks. You have to take a rest once in a while. So Yvonne has me literally, my life on the line. I trust her. I trust her completely. She's a new partner. This is like the first date, right? You're going out, you're trying new things. So that's the pain. I didn't get hurt, but my whole body reacted to this fall. The next day I'm going, I need to go see my massage therapist. This is where the agony piece comes in. I still hurt. My IT bands, she went in so deep that my IT bands are still hurting, my back is still hurting. So what's the basis of the story? It's about belief, it's about action, it's about results. I believed in myself, knowing my skills, that I could climb this route. The first action was incorrect. I should have gone the other way. The result was that I reached the top of this route. And it's very invigorating. So we finish the day, we do a debrief. And it's like, would you go out and climb with me again? Absolutely. Did I learn from this experience? Yes. Am I a risk taker? Yes. You need to take risks in what you do. So I look around this room, and I believe you're all undergrads. How long have you been an undergrad? Just throw your hands up. 1 year, 2 years, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 15. You laugh. 20, 25. Well, I'm on a 29-year undergrad hunt. I'm 9 credits short. I went to university, I went to college, I jumped here, I jumped there. I started out with the most amazing intentions. I'm going to be this change agent in the world. I'm going to make a difference. And then life got in the way. Married, had a child, career, things starting to shift. So where you are now isn't where you're going to end up in 25 years' time, hopefully, right? So everything that I do has to deal with things outside. I went to university. I can't sit still. That's why I'm pacing back and forth, right? I work the land. I use the land to teach me. I listen to what's happening in the seasons. So this land acknowledgement, very important for us Canadians, that we acknowledge the spaces that we work and live in. So I'm a settler. I'm an immigrant, born and raised in racist South Africa, came to Canada at 14, many, many years ago, went to school in a co-ed school. I went to a boys' school in South Africa. I had no idea how to engage with the opposite sex. It was very awkward. I went to a school that had people of different colors. Coming from South Africa, that would never happen. So here I was, transferring all my cultural identity into Canada and thinking, what's the big deal? What's the big deal? So you may come from a culture. Any international students here? Hands up. Okay. You may come from a different country that has different values, and you come to Canada, come to the States, UW, and it's a little bit different. It's okay. We need to embrace those differences because we can learn from it. So I live and work on the unceded territories of the Hunkaminam people. These folks have been there for centuries. And when I got invited down, I said, oh, I'm going to come, and I'm going to spend an extra day just driving around. So I came south, didn't take the I-5, took the Chuckanut Drive. And as a chef, you want to find the best nuggets, the best food, the best whatever you have in that area. So it's hyper-local, right? The Bow area, the Edison area. I went and I stopped at all these different spaces. First stop was Taylor Shellfish. Got a big bucket of oysters, right? And I went to the cheese place, and I went to the bread place, and I went to a bakery. And at each step, I would pick up what I felt was the best of that area. You are so fortunate. It's what, 20 minutes? No, maybe an hour away from here that you have the access to all this food. The land is so fertile. Think back generations. We're the first peoples of this area, right? You've got people that were from tribes and bands within Suquamish, and I have to look at this to pronounce it properly, Tulalip and the Muckleshoot Nations. The first peoples, the indigenous people, from wherever you live, travel, or go to, are the knowledge keepers. I travel a lot throughout the whole world. Last year, I went down south. I went to Ecuador. Indulged with some shamans, with some knowledge keepers from Canada as well. And I had some amazing experiences. Plant medicine, backyard. Everything is in the backyard. Unadulterated jungle. And you may have seen the movie, what's that one? Where they come and they take out all the Sully. Help me out here. Avatar, right? You've seen Avatar? These monster trucks rolling through, cutting down trees, everything. It's starting to happen in Ecuador. You may have the rights of the land, but you don't have the rights to the minerals below that land. So there's this huge fight to get back land that was taken away, stolen, but the government still allows multinational companies to come in and mine it. So you may own the land, but they take it back anyway. So land is so important. We're surrounded by oceans, or this part is surrounded by ocean. Fish, tons of things. Up in BC and Canada, we have lots of fish, but a lot of it doesn't reach our stores and doesn't reach our shelves because it gets sold for the highest bidder. So some of our best fish we never see because it goes overseas. Someone else outbids us for our own food. That's our food system that has been taken away because of the economics of the world. So land is super important for me. I need to live and grow and eat and play on the land. By rock climbing, I'm out there all the time. As a kayaker, I'm on the water all the time. So I can connect all these pieces. So my career has been a change of different pieces. And the word I like to use is frolic. I hear some giggles. Say that to yourself. Well, say it out loud. Say frolic. Okay, say with some frolic. Right? Just saying the word makes you feel joyful. My work is about frolicking. I love to play. I love to do it in my work. Preparing for this, I spent hours thinking about how I'm going to talk about what I love. And it's not difficult because I just love what I do. So when you frolic and you use that as one of your beliefs, right, your actions create results which are in alignment. So as I go through this presentation, I'm not going to wait till the end for questions. If you have a question, just shout it out, all right? So this is kind of my life. In my head, I'm not linear. I've got like a million sticky notes all over the place. So maybe you can help me out. Somebody just pull out one thing that's on that slide. Shout it out.
Beekeeper.
Sorry, ink keeper? Okay, beekeeper. All right. So beekeeping is a passion of mine. I do it because it makes me connect with the pollinators that provide the sustenance we eat. So you've probably gone through, 1/3 of our food, blah, 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 comes from pollinators. Bees are an important part of it. But more important than being a beekeeper is my connection to nature. The harmonics, the frequency of bees are tremendously powerful. If you've never been around bees in a safe environment, I encourage you to. There's something so calming. There's a smell that happens. And as a chef, smells are super important. And you harvest and you gather the things from the hive. You always look after the bees. So at one point, I had 11 hives. Any beekeepers in here? No, not yet. Oh, awesome. Fantastic. How many hives do you have? Just one. Fantastic. All right. So just by starting like that, you will eventually grow things. I had 11 hives, and it becomes a chore because you're out there in summer, and it's like 30 degrees, and you're just decked out, and it's hot, and you're sweating, and the bees are just there. They're doing their thing. We think we're beekeepers. They're playing us. They know what they're doing. They don't need us, but we want to be involved in some way. But by understanding the bees, you can understand nature a little bit better. Just by observation, just by listening to how they sound. So when I visit a hive, I'll stop and I'll just stand there and I'll watch. I'll see what's happening. I'll see the flight path. I'll see that waggle dance that they do in the front. And then as I open the beehive for an inspection, the pitch may sound different. So bees have a language, they talk to you. And if it's a nice high pitch, they're happy. But when you do something wrong or the weather's not right, it changes. It drops down. So just by listening to the bees, you can understand how they're feeling. And the biggest part about being a beekeeper is that I can teach kids. As kids, they're told, the bee movie, which was great, right? The Disney, bees. There's so many facts. Well, they're not even facts, they're lies. But it's a great movie. It's a great start to talk about nature. So I take the bees into classrooms and I work with children to demystify this idea of bees being those killer bees. They're going to come, they're going to swarm, they're going to hurt you. And we do tastings. I've had young children, 3 or 4, I think they're about this size, gear up in bee garb with their parents, and we go into the hive. And it's just quiet. Kids like me who are just like all over the place are quiet and calm and centered and grounded. So bees provide an important piece in who I am. I make candles, I make lip balm, I make propolis tincture. I don't even eat the honey. I'm not a big honey eater. And I just give it away. But I use it as a teaching tool. And it's something that I learned when there used to be a farm school. In British Columbia, in Richmond, there's a farm school, Kwantlen Farm School. And they used to have a beekeeper that does the lessons, and I worked on that farm for years. And it's like, I used to listen in. It was like, this is kind of cool stuff. And I ended up taking the course, and I still learn. So never stop learning. There's so many things I don't know. I have a wealth of knowledge, but there's so much more I want to learn and find out. So beekeeping is great because it allows me to work with young children. It allows me to work with corporates. If you've seen the resource package, I'm the Open Road Auto Group beekeeper. I'm the resident beekeeper, which is a pretty cool title, but basically I get to play. They pay me to hang out with bees. Like, what better job would you have? Is it hard? No, it's not hard. Yeah, it's a bit heavy on the back, but then you go get RMT. So that's the beekeeper part of what I do. Okay, shout out another one. Sorry? A fermenter, yes. Okay. I like to rot things and eat it and drink it. Homesteading, okay, preservation. So when you look at food that is healthy, ties in with food, ties in with being a chef, fermented foods are healthy for your gut. I make my own kombucha, which is like $6 a bottle, crazy. The actual cost of kombucha is maybe, 30 cents. I make my own miso. I make my own tempeh. So I love making tempeh. Anybody had tempeh before? A few people, okay. Those of you who don't know tempeh, it's a fermented soybean cake. It looks kind of fuzzy, looks like brie cheese, that fuzz, but it's got gray and black on it. I use my car as a fermenter. Summertime is fantastic. As a chef, you have these hotel sheet pans, big, right? My wife always says, it's just the two of us. You're not running a restaurant anymore. We don't need so much. But I give it away. So I make the tempeh, and I put it in tinfoil. I poke holes, and I put it on my dashboard. And within a day, it's fermented. It's ready to go. The car has great bacteria in it. You sit in my car, you come out, you're like alive, all right? So fermentation is important because it is a cultural thing. Whether it's sauerkraut, whether it's kimchi, it's just a different part of the world. There's different sets of spices. All you need is salt. Well, I'm a beekeeper. What do I ferment from the bees? Any idea? Friar Tuck. What did Friar Tuck drink? Mead, honey wine. So I use all the scraps from beekeeping. Talk about sustainability. Nothing is wasted. You take the scraps and the cappings from the wax, you wash it, you save the wax for making candles and lip balm, and you take that liquid. You do nothing but stir it. You don't need to put yeast in it. You don't need to put any starter in it. There's already natural starters on the wax, which helps to ferment the honey to turn it into wine. Friar Tuck was always happy. He was drunk. Okay, so fermenting is important because it's culturally important, regardless of what country you come from, what country your ancestors come from. They fermented something. To understand a culture, understand the fermentation processes, and you'll get a deeper understanding of what's important or what was important at one time. So we want to bring back these old skills, these old trades, bring it back to the here and now, because we need to have a sustainable food system. COVID made everybody excited about sourdough, and now it's like, yeah, whatever. I'll just go buy it at the store. For a while, we were dialed into the land, into the food, into sharing. COVID, it's like, hey, I've got extra sourdough bread. You want some? I'll swap you for something. So there's this bartering system, this reciprocity. I give you something. I don't expect something back, but you'll give me something back as well. So that's that part of fermentation. Another one. Ocean-wise. Okay, so when I worked for the Four Seasons Hotel, I was vegetarian then. I was the butcher. I processed all the meat and fish that came through the hotel. And one part was fish. So we're buying this fish. It's like, where's this fish coming from? Let's study it a little bit more. I started doing producers' dinners, that farm-to-table thing that's the rage now. We used to do farm-to-table years ago, 20 years ago. So I needed to know where my fish was coming. Was it sustainably caught? How was it caught? How was it shipped? How was it packed? Were the people along that transportation route paid fairly for the work that they did? So now it gets into justice, food justice, social justice. This is what sustainable food systems are about. It's about that equity piece. So, here I am, early in my career, and it's like, I'm getting these fish, but what about local fish, right? What's happening? Fish farms everywhere. This craziness about sea lice, fish going crazy, swimming around in circles. I studied it. I went and I worked with people that had fish farms, good quality fish farms. I went to bad quality fish farms. They don't want you to go on there. But it's about relationships. Everything you do, starting day one, right now, after you leave, it's about the relationships you have. How do you leverage those relationships? Your net worth is about your net work. You have a good network, your net worth is huge. It's not about how much money you have, it's about the people you know. So back to this ocean-wise piece, it's like, okay, let's go and learn about what's in our local oceans. Well, how do you do that? You need to get into the ocean. I don't swim, but I took my scuba ticket. Oh man, that's a lot of work. You have to carry this tank, and it's heavy, and it's cold, and you're in this rubber suit. You feel like the Michelin man carrying like a ton of stuff. And then if you go at the wrong time in BC, you can't see your hand in front of your face. For me, it's like scuba. Wow, you're in this tropical, beautiful blue azure oceans, and you see these fish like Hello Nemo. What's a Nemo? Swimming by. Well, our fish in BC aren't very colorful. They blend right in because it's a survival technique, and the visibility is like maybe 10 meters, if that. But I went there. I went down that path. I was supposed to go to Belize this past August to help with reef sustainability, to actually go somewhere and scuba dive in nice warm water. So the oceans were part of my early beginnings in sustainability. Working in the hotel allowed me, using their name as leverage. You say, oh, I'm from the Four Seasons. It's like, ooh, okay. I like to know more about something. So it's not name dropping. You're actually trying to improve the quality of the food you serve in a restaurant. You're trying to improve the skill set of the apprentices who are going through the cooking programs. I went through as an apprentice. I knew what was missing. I saw a need. I created a system, a program, so that all apprentices had to understand their food. We took them to farms. There was this lady, Susan. She used to drive down to the loading dock once a week. Downstairs would phone up, hey, Susan's here. I would go down, and Susan would open the back of her truck. And I thought, oh, what a hippie. Here's this crazy lady who's so excited about a bag of greens. But I followed that question. I got to meet Susan. I went to talk to her. I spent time on her farm. And I was like, oh my God, you get it. You understand the land. We're using your food, and half the cooks in this hotel don't even know what it's about. Why are you so excited about this one green? How it grows, when to grow, when to harvest, when to save the seeds. Seed saving is a huge piece in sustainability as well. So we actually ran an apprenticeship program which made the apprentices go on boats, spend time with fisher people, go to farms, spend an hour or two just on your hands and knees, just weeding, understanding what they go through. Food is so inexpensive these days when you think about it. The labor that goes into growing food doesn't account for the cost. We have tons of migrant workers up in British Columbia as well. During cranberry season, during blueberry season, we have tons of people coming in. And they're put into these little shacks. Would you want to? No. So why aren't we paying them properly and giving them adequate housing? Because they're supporting an economy that drives our province. So, back to ocean-wise. Sorry, I get sidetracked. So, the ocean piece is important. We learned a lot from it. We started using local fishermen. Go down to the docks. Hey, what are you selling? Oh, can we buy for the hotel? What? Buy for the hotel? Usually just buy for folks that are passing by. Yeah, what's the name of your boat? I'm going to put the name of your boat on the menu to sell that fish. It was a cheap fish. We call it dogfish. People say, oh, this is like dog food fish, cat food fish. I said, no, it's beautiful fish. I've worked with fishermen that handle fish like their baby. Rob, I used to buy so much salmon from Rob. And he would take that salmon out of the hole, and he would cradle it, and he would weigh it, and he would hand it to me with 2 hands. I thought, wow, this person cares about that fish. It's only $10 for him, but it's not the money, it's the care that went into catching that fish, processing it, getting to me. So I started caring for the fish. I started to hold it like that. I used to cut it, and I processed the fish. Being the butcher, you have to clean a lot of fish. And I can get 67% yield on a piece of salmon. I know exactly what I can get. I can use all the scraps. I can use the head. Asians love fish heads, by the way. I can use the gills. I can use the muscles in the eye, the ocular muscle for food, right? I can use all these things to make people feel good about eating what they call a cheap fish. Is that me or is that you? Oh my gosh. Oh, is my time up? That is so rude. Who invited this person? Oh. It's a 911 call. That's what happens. That's okay. I apologize for that. Okay, another one besides Ocean Wise. Forager. Forager, I like to gather, not harvest, gather. The language you use is super important. When we say we're going to go harvest all these wilds, it's a colonial frame of mind. I need to harvest, I need to gather because it's an economy. But when we say we're going to gather, you take what you need for the sole intent and purpose of what that piece is used for. So when I go out and I walk, I'm looking down all the time. I'm seeing what's growing. I'm seeing what is at the peak of the season. I'm seeing what is at the end of its season. Every piece of that tells me what's going to happen next year. If you work and walk on the land long enough, you start to see rhythm. So as a community gardener, as an urban grower, weeds. Hey, kids, you get elementary kids coming. We're going to weed all this. Weeds are bad. Take it out. Throw it away. They're detrimental to your harvest. Hold on. Weeds are not bad. Weeds have medicinal value. Animals eat weeds to self-medicate. You watch in a paddock what that horse eats. Go eat that. You'll be healthier. So I turned teaching children into understanding the biodiversity within a square foot of soil. You're going to get the things that you like, the things that you don't like, but they can coexist. I have kids at schools, so I teach it, part of the medicinal part, is that, if you get stung or you have an itchy bite, you find some plantain, right? Plantains, there's 2 kinds. There's broadleaf, there's narrow leaf. But anyway, you find plantain, and you take it, you put it in your mouth, and hopefully it's not where dogs have gone, and you chew it. You macerate it, and you take that, it's called a poultice, and you apply it to a little area that is irritating. So, teach kids this. It's like I come into the school one day, it's like, oh, Mr. Lai, such and such, it's so funny. A girl got stung by a bee. He found plantain, he chewed it up, and he spat it on her leg. I said, awesome. He learned something. But the part that he needs to adjust a little bit is maybe, the action. Maybe we need to adjust the action. The results, the belief was good. The action was incorrect, but the result worked. See, was that little triangle there? So foraging is important. It's part of ancient cultures. You go and you gather things for the season or for storage or for down the road, which ties into weaving. This guy's a basket weaver. We should laugh, he's a basket weaver. Macrame, right? So nature has an amazing amount of plant fiber that can be used and repurposed into tools and necessities for daily life. when you look at First Peoples. Whether it's here, whether it's overseas, there's always some weaving. You take what the land provides, and you learn how to use it. You learn how to maximize it, because it becomes part of your food system. Go gathering blueberries, right? So we have wild blueberries, we have blackberries. Who needs an ice cream pail to go pick blackberries? If you weaved your own cedar basket or your own canary reed basket, and you went and you picked those blackberries, it would make that event so much more meaningful. And you'd be the coolest person. Oh, wow, what is that? Conversation starter, relationship builder, right? Everyone can weave. You can tie a shoelace, you can weave. We should do a weaving class next time. Okay? Wafts and wafts, all those pieces. So that's part of the weaving piece. Okay? What's another one? Chef. I don't like the title. Everyone thinks chef. Oh, he's a chef. Guy's just a cook. Your mom, your grandmother's a better chef than some chefs I know, because they have emotional intelligence. They can connect with people. Chefs come from an ancient system where it's about power. Food systems and power dynamics, we need to switch that over. Yes, when I first became a chef, I had an embroidered jacket. Wow, accomplishment. And then you wear this fancy hat that is useless, just gets in the way everywhere, right? And then I started to teach. I worked for the Four Seasons, and I had a daughter, and I was like, yeah, you know what? I don't want to work 16 hours a day. I have a new kid. I want to spend time with her. Family was more important. So, okay, what avenue can I take that I still get to cook, but I don't spend the long hours? Relationship building. Who do I know? Who does my chef know? My chef says, oh, let me make a call. Called the Culinary School, said, got a guy here that wants to be a chef instructor. You have any space? I said, oh, interesting. Four Seasons Hotel has a brand. This culinary school wanted the brand, co-branding. They said, oh, why doesn't he work part-time? He can teach part-time, and he can work at the hotel part-time. It was great. It's a win-win for everybody. I was the biggest winner. I was underpaid a lot. But I got to hone my skill as a teacher. I honed my skill as a teacher. Nobody back then had teaching certificates. As a chef's like, you do this, not that. The language, that TV stuff, sometimes I can't, I cringe. It's like, right? It's about respect, not just for the food. They're all about the food, these chefs, but they're not about the people. Talk to me. In kitchens I've worked in, chef, may I speak? Oh my God. You need permission to ask to speak? Where did that come from? It's this whole hierarchy. So, yes, I have a name on my jacket. I have the sense of importance, but I didn't want my students calling me chef. I wanted to change that power dynamics just by one word. Just call me Ian. So it's just like when you call your coach, right? You get into this habit. But that person is a person as well. So you change that power dynamics, and you can have this emotional intelligence, which is super important. Right now you're in university, and it's all about that, intelligence, that book smart. But people smarts are much, much more important. So being a chef allowed me to taste amazing foods. At the Four Seasons, how's my time? Really? Are you kidding me? Wow. Okay. So, I didn't get to where I wanted to go. That's fine. So as a chef, you got to try new things. You got to learn to work with farmers and growers. So let me just jump ahead to all these things. Never work a day in your life, or as little as possible. So that's what I do. I play, I frolic every single day. I don't have the opportunity. Yes, some days are tough, but most days aren't. And all these things that I work on the land, through the land, has allowed me to get to a place where I am now. So to sum it all up, because now we're tight for time, your network is your net worth. Your beliefs need to lead to actions that lead to a result that is aligned. Any misalignment, just change one of those three pieces and you'll figure things out a lot more. Learn by your mistakes. You'll make mistakes. Fantastic. You'll fall. Awesome. Pick up and go again. Don't give up. It's a long game. It's a long game. You can't get there without hard work. And I don't care what people say about millennials. No. If you believe in what you do, you'll have that passion. You won't work a day in your life. You'll frolic for the rest of your life. Questions? Oh, all right.
We are looking forward to your questions and your reflections. And Ian, you are clearly living your passion with your knowledge, your skills, your actions. It was incredible to host you. Thank you all for your attention and really look forward to your reflections. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you.